Every day is a new beginning. Shine your light. It's a day and the world is waiting. Move along to the song, singing in your soul. Feel the beat, clap your hands, let's take control. All you need, all you want, are you ready to find your way? 'Cause every day is a new day.
Hi, I'm Jessa Jeremiah.
I'm Justin Riley. Welcome to Wisconsin Family, and we have a fabulous show for you. We are here on location at the J&K Security Solutions Model Smart Home on South Park Street.
It is so much fun to be here and see all these great gadgets that can help you feel more safe and secure in your own home, and that's actually what we're going to be chatting about today is security in the home.
Yeah, it's a growing topic with the technology that's behind home security has evolved a lot and continues to evolve, and we'll talk more about that with those folks.
It sure does. And we're also going to be talking about safety on the road. So Prairie Land Towing is joining us. Talk about experience. Todd is actually going to join us. He has been doing this literally since he was 12 years old. Did you know that?
That's incredible.
Yeah, so he's going to give us some great winter safety driving tips.
And we'll also be joined by John Shear from Trinity Financial Planning, and he's going to talk to us about market trends, but he always makes it so fun.
He does. Finance is fun.
Yeah, finance is fun. That's all coming up next on Wisconsin Family. Welcome back to Wisconsin Family, and we are so excited to be here at the J&K Security Solutions Model Smart Home on South Park Street.
It is a smart home. There's lots of great gadgets. We're going to talk to those folks later in the show. I look forward to it.
Absolutely, but first you should recognize this face. This is John Shear from Trinity Financial. How are you, John?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
I'm good. So now I get all my financial information from you, and I didn't realize what a mess I was until I met you. So glad to see you.
So we're going to be talking a little bit about market trends today, which is a topic that some folks are pretty interested in following. The market seems to be all over the place today. Can you give us some insights as far as what's going on, what's going to be happening in the future, and more importantly, what are we going to do about it?
Sure. Well, that's a big question. That's one that's on a lot of people's mind, right? The market's been all over the place, up and down, especially down as of late. Right. And what's going to happen in the future? That's the one thing that nobody really knows. Right. It's all sort of Jimmy the Groundhog, sort of prognostication about things.
Right. Yeah.
But it helps a lot of times to look back in history, and I brought some handouts here that we can take a look at. When you take a look at what's going on currently, it's the same things that have always happened. Mm-hmm. A lot of what you read in the news is this is the worst start to the year in history in the markets, which is factually true.
Right.
But if we take a look at this bar chart that I've put together here, the gray bars are the S&P 500 returns each year. That's what happened during the year. Mm-hmm. And those red dots, that's what happened at some point between January and December, the intra-year declines. Okay. So even in those positive years, all those up years, on average, there's about a 14% drop in the market at some time during the year. And so the market now has been down 8 or 10%. I mean, it's been kind of ugly, but it's not out of the ordinary. And so when the news is, the idea is, hey, what do we do now? What's going on? Well, this is what always goes on.
Right.
And we sort of joke that when people ask for our prognostication, what's going to happen in the market? I say, we don't know because we actually don't, and nobody does.
Right.
Warren Buffett doesn't know, we don't.
Right.
But what we should say is, if you take a look at these, there's 36 years on this chart, 22 of them are positive, so that's 75%.
Right.
And so if you say, 27 of the 36 are positive, so 75% of the time the market's up, and on average there's about a 14% drop. So that's what, I'd sound a lot smarter if I said, geez, I think the market's probably going to go down 10 or 15% sometime during the year, because that's what always happens.
Right. So there's some predictability just looking at past trends, and you've always talked to us too about, it's about the long term, so not necessarily looking at what's happening right now this month.
That's exactly right.
But one thing I think that is on people's minds, obviously it's a presidential election year, so does that tend to make things a little bit more volatile or risky? What are your thoughts there?
Well, we hear that a lot, and one of the reasons is we want to have explanations for what's going on. And I've put together, I think it's on the next one here, I like to look at the facts. And when you take a look at the S&P 500 was started back in the 20s, and there's been 22 presidential elections since then. And so the things in blue here, we have the Democratic, when the Democrat was elected, and then red when the Republican was elected. And going back in history, the average return was 11% in an election year. And 18 of them have been positive. And so you say, you take a look at what's actually gone on over the past time period and you go, I'm not saying that it's not going to be a bad year necessarily in the market, but just because it's a presidential election, that's not a cause of those things.
Right.
Okay, interesting.
And so I guess the question then is what is? We don't really know what the cause is necessarily.
Well, it's a lot of it
lot of different things.
is the news and people's reaction to the news, and
Sure.
it's not necessarily the underlying fundamentals. And that's a whole different discussion on
Right.
some of the fundamentals and the economy with things. But a lot of the volatility that goes on is, what happened yesterday when the Fed raised rates, or China
Right.
did this, or it goes back to Greece years ago and back, and all those things are sort of blips in the road when you take a look at
Right.
the long-term horizon. That when companies are doing well, the market's going to grow over time, as you say, Jess, on
Right.
an
Right.
over time basis, not a short time.
Well, that's not what I say. I was just copying you, but thank you for giving me credit.
There's definitely though a perception that really I think plays into what people, how the market, what the market trends are. I think it's people's
sure.
perception kind of plays into that.
Well,
quite
and
a
then
bit.
those perceptions wind up causing change, right? Because
Right.
of fear or feelings of
sure.
stability.
One of the things is that we think we have to know what's going to happen
Right.
in order to have a successful investment experience, and that's just not true. When you take a look at the bar chart, that over time that things are successful if you stick with your plan. It's sort of like planting a tree. When you
Right.
plant a tree and it doesn't grow very fast in the first part, so you don't pull up the roots and try and figure out what's going on. You know that,
Right.
listen, if you water this and you fertilize it, that over time,
Sure.
the same things happen again. It's a very similar philosophy when you're talking investing.
With it.
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
We got about a minute left, but let's talk about oil. So the price of oil is always in the news and impacting stocks. It's hurting stocks, isn't it? Or what's happening?
Well, yes, it's interesting that back in 2007, the price of oil was getting near $150 a barrel, and that was going to cause gas to go over $5. That was going to be a big problem for stocks. Then, of course,
And our wallets.
Right.
Also.
But then the credit crisis came, and suddenly the price of oil wasn't a problem.
Right.
Now oil has dropped 70% over the last year or two, and now low oil is causing a problem. So when oil is too high, it's a problem. When oil is too low, it's a problem. And again, it comes down to some of the underlying fundamentals. It's not necessarily a cause. And when you take a look at what the markets have done after oil has had a big drop like this, it's been generally positive. So again, and we're not saying that there aren't underlying issues that could be there, but it's not just because oil's
Right.
down, driving stocks down. And
Right.
we've got some information on our website with a few other slides on oil in particular and a few other things that we've been hearing from our clients about questions. I've been hearing this or that, and so people can go there to find out more information.
Yeah, and John has a great website, so
It's an
make sure
excellent
and check
website.
it out. Yeah.
And I think the conclusion we can all draw from today's discussion is that the market is complex.
Yeah, well,
And
that's
stick
true.
to your plan, right? Have a plan and
Stick
stick
to
to
it.
it. That's right.
John Shear from Trinity Financial Planning, thanks so much for joining us.
John.
Great. Thanks, you guys.
And don't you go away, there's more Wisconsin Family coming up right after this.
'Cause every day is a new day.
Welcome back to Wisconsin Family, folks. Justin and I have been enjoying our time here at the Model Smart Home from J&K Security Solutions. It's
a pretty cool place.
It is a cool place. It is off of Park, and it's a little bit hidden, but once you get in here, there's a lot of great gadgets, and we're going to learn a little bit about safety in the home later in the show.
Awesome.
Right now, we're going to talk a little bit about safety on the road, and joining us is Todd Menzel, COO of Prairie Land Towing, and a very experienced driver and safety folks for the road on towing and pickup and all that kind of stuff. So let's talk a little bit about that. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So let's first talk. We're going to talk about a couple different topics today, but talk to us about the move over law and explain that to us and why it's important.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand the move over law, and they don't even realize it's in effect. In Wisconsin, many years back, they passed the move over law, explaining to people that if there's a first responder on the side of the highway, whether that be, even if that's a person changing their tire, they should move over and severely slow their speed. We want to be safe on the side of the roadways. We want to make sure that people go home at the end of the day. So you'll see signs at the entrances of every state, usually around Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota. It's a white sign with a yellow border. It says, please move over for emergency vehicles. It's the law. So we want to make sure that people understand that. And it's available, so we push that information as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's pretty scary if you're on the side of the road and you're stranded or you're changing a tire or something and people are going by you at 75 miles an hour just inches from you. That's
No
scary.
kidding.
Exactly. It's not a safe place to be. It's not anywhere where anybody wants to be, but unfortunately it's our job and we're there to help protect you and get you home safely.
Right, absolutely.
Now, overall, I think we've gotten off pretty well this winter in terms of winter driving. We haven't had a lot of snow or anything like that.
Winter, sure.
But you know, I'm sure that we'll get some more. So can you give some viewers or give our viewers some tips on how to be better winter drivers?
Absolutely. Well, when we think about winter driving, we think about overpasses, bridges, different roadways that drift over or ice over more quickly than others. So north-south roads, obviously, we have drifting east and west. So those roads are more dangerous. When you approach an interstate bridge, before the bridge, after the bridge, on the bridge, that surface is going to freeze much faster than any other surface. So a lot of spin-outs and accidents you'll see near an overpass or near a bridgeway. So we want to slow down, and when you're changing lanes, again, with the wet snow that we received over the last few days, that's a snow that kind of sucks you into the ditch or into the other lane. So you want to slowly merge and make that a controlled situation and not let it take your wheel and spin you out.
I never really thought about that too much, about certain different areas of the road being safer or less safe. And you talk about driving north and south and drifts from east and west. That's something that doesn't always come to mind. But from years of experience, I'm sure you've seen it all.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. Let's talk for folks for the rest of the winter season and going, next year, just things to know for future years too, about what you should keep in your car. So in the event of an accident or an emergency or a breakdown, do you suggest some kind of survival kit and what should be in that?
Absolutely. Bottled water is a good thing to have. You may be somewhere in a remote area that you might be there for a little while. A blanket, extra set of gloves, maybe a dry pair of socks, a pair of boots. Some simple things that we all as kids, our parents probably told us that we should probably have in our vehicle at some point in time, maybe even an umbrella sometimes. But little things that are going to help you get to where you got to go if you have to leave your vehicle, if it's a short distance hopefully, or stay in your vehicle and stay safe.
Okay, interesting. You think about jumper cables and like some of those kind of more basic things, but you don't think about, gosh, you might be stranded in the cold and have nothing to drink or not have a blanket.
Right. And a lot of folks, when the weather gets really bad and there's a lot of snow, we'll have entire roadways of folks that are just stranded there. Yeah. And so then there's folks who, we thankfully live in a country where there's resources available and people will come to your rescue, hopefully eventually. So talk to us a little bit about what is a first responder. Is that the job of a first responder? Well,
a first responder is many things. So you have police, fire, EMS, towing recovery, and in my opinion, anybody on the side of the roadway is responding. Whoever's there first, they're helping in an emergency situation. So even if a car breaks down, has a flat tire, and you pull over to help them, you are technically a first responder. You're helping somebody on the side of the road. So give them the same dedication and the same room that you would give to a police, fire, EMS, or towing recovery.
Sure.
So move over, slow down, and understand that that's a very, very dangerous place to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Todd has some personal experience with that. We don't have time for that today, but an incredible story of survival. So move over for all first responders is certainly a takeaway point. Let's talk a little bit about if your vehicle is involved in a crash. Do you have any advice for those motorists? What should they do?
Well, first and foremost, it's like installing a security system. You should install one before an incident happens. So when it comes to towing recovery, know who you're going to call before you have to call somebody. If you find yourself off the roadway, the best place for yourself is in that vehicle if your vehicle is not submerged in like a marshy area or snow. So immediately remove your vehicle, get out of your vehicle, check your tailpipe, make sure it's not under the snow, it's not underwater, because carbon monoxide will enter the vehicle and it's a killer. If you're in the roadway, we have a law in Wisconsin, it's called the Steer It, Clear It law. If you can remove your vehicle, you can steer your vehicle, move your vehicle, the law is to remove your vehicle from the roadway. The absolute worst place you can be now is in the roadway in your car. If you can't move your car, get out of your car, get far, far away from the roadway. In the ditch, against the fence line, up away, because you'll see on videos across the country where accidents happen and they just continue to happen because people don't understand there's an accident in front of them. And then it's just a chain effect.
Sure, absolutely. All great
Wow.
safety tips,
Yeah.
and thank you so much for sharing this with us. Great timing in the middle of winter, but
Yeah.
good tips all year round, so thanks a bunch. This
Thank
is
you.
Todd Menzel with Prairie Land Towing. And we've got lots more Wisconsin family for you. After the break, we're checking in with J&K Security Solutions, so stick around.
'Cause every day is a new day.
And welcome back to Wisconsin Family, and this is the moment we've been waiting for. We are here at J&K Security Solutions, the model smart home, and we're going to talk about security solutions, which is what J&K does best. So we are joined now by Dan Tennyson and Bill Topel. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Very good.
Good, thanks for having us once
Thanks for
again.
being here.
We've enjoyed it.
Yeah. So give us a little bit of a backdrop to talk about this, our conversation about security. Give us some background on how J&K Security Solutions got started.
Well, in 1985, J&K began as just a lock and key shop out of the owner's home. In '87, they incorporated on Park Street, and they've been here ever since. This is the 4th location, so locally owned, family-operated company for about 30 years.
Wow.
And a growing company, which is really cool.
Yeah, we don't just do keys anymore. We have key shop,
Right.
I love that's
residential.
where you started, though. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, how security has evolved over the years, and now we're into electronic security, card access, cameras, fire, hollow metal doors, and smart home obviously is a big thing as well.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. And talk a little bit about how, you know, the security has evolved. So you mentioned some things, but talk about kind of the current climate compared to previously.
Well, I think there's still kind of a big need for security. There always has been, and that trend has kind of continued to grow with time. But I think a lot of people want to protect their home, their property, their families. And getting a security system has become more easier now and today than it was in years past.
Yeah, I think that's the point for people to know is it's not as big of an undertaking as it used to be now with all the technology. You know, we've touched on this before, but it is important to know that you don't have to rip up your whole home to get the security you're wanting.
Right. So a lot of folks still just do the traditional lock. They lock the front door, you know, when they leave, and that's their security system. Talk to us about some of the more sophisticated security solutions, specifically like what you guys do.
Yeah, and certainly a lock, a good deadbolt and lock is going to be your first line of defense against anything.
And a deadbolt is preferable.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
It just sounds scary.
But now, when you think about a security system, you think about the nuts and bolts are a control panel, a keypad, a siren, or an audible alarm of some kind, door contacts, glass breaks, motion detectors, heat sensors, fire detectors, water sensors.
Wow, okay, so the water
list
sensors
goes
and
on.
fire detectors are still, those are part of the security system.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. In a residential application, people are certainly tiring in their fires. They want to know, and a lot, especially in Wisconsin, a lot of people aren't here for the winter.
Sure.
So they want to know if anything
Why is
happens to their
that?
property. I don't know, maybe.
Can't think of a reason, Justin. Okay, so let's talk about when the alarm goes off. So there's multiple reasons that the alarm could go off, and then what happens from there.
It sort of depends on how you have the system set up. If you have what's referred to as a local system, it goes into alarm and the siren would sound in the home only.
Oh, right.
You can have a monitored option as well, whether it be through a standard phone line or a cellular unit, and it can go out to a monitoring company who can initiate a series of steps on your behalf to call you to see if everything's okay. Maybe it's a false alarm, or they can call the police department or fire department on your behalf and send help if help is needed.
Right. Especially key, like if you aren't there in the winter or for a period of time, or just maybe you work some odd hours or are gone for a long time at night, you might need that extra protection of somebody being called on your behalf, or at least checking in with you. Right?
Yeah, and I want to make sure viewers know about this. This is really cool. You know, you guys offer the monthly. There's like a monthly fee that's involved with getting home security. You know, like the calling center and so forth.
Sure.
You know, giving people who relay the call to you and so forth. You guys offer that yourself here locally, and it's actually cheaper than most places that you'd go to, like other more nationally recognized security systems. So if people don't have to have new equipment installed or anything like that, they can come to you and say, hey, we just want to change our subscription over to you guys.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely. On top of putting in a security system from the very beginning, we can also come behind someone else's work.
Right.
If you were to purchase a home and want to have us monitor the system on your behalf as well, we can take over that for you.
wow.
And it's more affordable than a lot of the other places, which is really cool.
It's very reasonable, yes.
And it's local.
It's local too, which
That's
is
a good
great.
feeling.
People always like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you can call and talk to an actual person, so that's nice.
That's huge.
Let's talk a little bit about what homeowners, technology has changed over time. We've discussed that. So what should homeowners expect then going forward? The concern might be, geez, we get something installed now. Is it still going to work or work in the future? So what do they expect for later?
Well, I think the systems that are going in are still going to function on their own for years to come. I think what's going to happen with a lot of the new technology is there's going to be more in wireless, and there's going to be easier, simpler ways that you can get notifications and messages to find out the status of your home, right on your smartphone or on your iPad. That whole technology and consumer-driven security products is really increasing.
Yeah, and I think to your point about being wireless, since technology has changed over time and being able to add things on has to become easier with wireless systems. So maybe in the past, changing or updating to a more advanced security system might have been more of an undertaking, but with wireless, as things get added, they're probably fairly easy to just update and add.
Yep, very true.
So that's nice to know too.
So, we were talking about how technology is changing. Where do you guys see the future? What direction are we going with home security systems? Is it going to become more of the same, or is there going to be a change? Do we know that yet?
I think the need and the demand is always going to be there. That's
Right.
probably going to increase with time. I think more and more devices will become wireless. They'll be easier for a consumer to implement. And easier to get, like I said, the notifications and things to let you know the status of your home. And to your point, adding more devices to an existing system, or maybe monitoring water or different elements that maybe weren't initially in someone's system, it'll just become easier to add.
Yeah.
And technology is just becoming so much more user-friendly, especially in today's environment where people just sort of expect and know how to use this stuff right out of the gate. It's working very well for us in our business, people understanding and knowing more what they want and how to use it. It helps a lot.
Yeah, that helps. I mean, the learning curve isn't as great as it probably used to be, and I think that's another hindrance, aside from worrying about what's going to happen to your home and is it going to be a construction project, which you've eased our minds there, but am I going to know how to use it? Am I going to be able to learn it quickly? I think that's important, and that's what's nice about the growing technology is it's actually getting easier and easier to learn, easier and easier to use, and very similar to other technologies we already have in our own lives.
And that's a big concern for us as we go about working with any customer on a project. We want them to have something that's going to protect them and be easy to use, and that they know how to use it and it's going to work every time for them. We really strive to do our best and do everything that the customer is satisfied at the end of the day with the product that we give them.
That's awesome. Really quickly, before we go, tell us why we should go to J&K Security Solutions for home security.
Locally owned and operated company.
Yeah.
We've been in the Madison area, like I said, for 30 years. We'll be here for 30 more years.
30 more years at least.
And we look forward to working with everybody. Our customers are an extension of our family, and we really mean that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're easy to get a hold of, and people know us and recognize us throughout the community.
I feel like I'm part of the family here, and we're just coming here to film a show.
Well, you are.
You are now, yeah.
You're like that annoying uncle, Jess.
That's true. Thanks, Jess. I always appreciate the self-esteem boost. So, Dan Tennyson and Bill Topol from J&K Security Solutions,
guys.
thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for having us here.
Thank
That's
you.
all the time we have for Wisconsin Family. We'll see you next time.